Almost 3 years ago now, Mushoku Tensei captivated the world with jaw-dropping action, a mesmerizing fantasy world, and some of the most emotionally impactful moments you'll see in anime. You might have even seen some of your favorite YouTubers talking about it.
Mushoku Tensei is the kind of exciting, colorful adventure that we haven't had enough of this year.
Mushoku Tensei is not trash.
Mushoku Tensei has come along and I believe has shown how truly special this genre can be.
So listening to them and some of my friends, I finally got around to watching it a few months ago and it made me cry more than any other anime this year. There's only one problem. What the fuck? Dispatch, we got a code EDP. I repeat, code EDP, requesting all units on deck. It's not what it looks like, I swear, it's not. Mushoku Tensei is fucking weird. Some of the shit Rudeus does is disgusting. It made a lot of people really uncomfortable, and for that reason, it landed the show in a lot of hot water. So how did they respond in the second season? By doubling the fuck down on Rudeus's erectile dysfunction as the overarching narrative of the season. I think it's pretty obvious that I don't like this as much. I mean, watching a fella experiment with different ways to get his meat up isn't exactly at the top of my priorities list, but I do still think that despite all of that, this show is worth watching. So I want to talk about what made the first season so special, how season 2 fucked some of that up, and why even then, I still have faith that it'll deliver. I said in the intro that season 1 of Mushoku Tensei made me cry more than any other anime this year, which is true, by the way. So what sets season 1 apart from season 2? Was season 1 less weird? Nah, not really. Everyone is still horny. I mean, everyone. Rudeus is still up to his normal zooming with a GR in front. So what's different? This. In season 1, you're so distracted by the amazingly animated fantasy and action that it takes away from the awkwardness of Rudeus. It's more than just an accessory to the story. Every character and moment feels meticulously crafted. The adventure is weaved in between the slow stuff effortlessly, and throughout the incredible peaks and insanely low valleys it brings, something is highlighted. Underneath the surface, Rudy is two characters. His old life, the NEET, that's the one you hate. That's the one Rudeus hates. That's the one that'll turn a lot of people off from this show, and you can't really blame them. But under the filth and muck, deep down, there's a real hero in there. That's the guy you connect with. Nobody should self-insert with this character, but everybody can see pieces of themselves in him. When he's struggling with his past trauma or regret, when he's getting beat down by the world for even trying, that's the shit you can relate to. Because we're always in his head, we're exposed to his vulnerabilities, his deepest flaws and insecurities. We know when he's about to fuck up, or sometimes that inner voice is so convincing that even you don't see the pitfall coming. So when it does, it shocks both of you, and that's part of what makes those moments hit extra hard. That's what gives you a small moment, even when you acknowledge that Rudy is not a good person, that you can feel like, damn, me and him really aren't that dissimilar. The adventure is what brought that side of Rudy out. The conflict and new characters are what keeps the story fresh while shining a light on the parts of Rudy that actually resonate. By the end of it, you start rooting for him or his team, not because you're a big fan of the diddler, but because you want to see him grow and change into a good person. It's a reassuring and honestly comfortable feeling that if even he can change for the better, maybe you can too. Season 2 strips all of that away in favor of,
you know, when I hit 50, my body went through a big change, and not for the better. Severe erectile dysfunction shattered my confidence, set me into a depression, and almost ruined my marriage.
It slows shit all the way down to hyper-focus on the story of Rudy and his erectile dysfunction. And I don't hate slow character stories or anything. Vinland Saga earlier this year was one of my favorite anime that came out, but Without the adventure, it's easy to lose track of those parts of Rudy's character that are actually impactful and relatable. Instead, you're stuck with this side of him, and some of the hardest to watch and most cringe parts of the series so far. And it's not just Rudy either. A lot of the B plots and other characters suffer too. Let's compare the main characters of season 1 to the main characters of season 2. In season 1, you got a girl who feels alienated from her family and tries to find her place in the world through magic. A guy who fucked up a lot in his past but is trying to turn that around and be the best father that he can be. A man given a second chance at life struggles to overcome past drama and make the most of his opportunity. A classic coming of age story where a cocky girl faces her own insecurities and limitations and tries to overcome them as she matures and develops her desire to improve and be self-reliant. And a guy who tries his hardest, one small step at a time, to overcome prejudice and rebuild the reputation of his people. In season 2, you get guy obsessed with sex dolls, jealous fella who eventually does find his own love, young boy never hard again, can't get his dick to work because he's stuck up on an ex, anxiety-ridden girl struggles with her own feelings, and girl from the same world as Rudius is trying her hardest to figure out the rules of the world in order to get back. Do you see the difference here? Without the adventure, a lot of these character motivations and desires just don't resonate with me, and the ones that could? Nanahoshi is only on the screen this season for 1 episode. Sylphie's shit drags so long that it makes you feel stupid, and Soldad isn't in the story that long either. In season 1, it's not like a lot of the character development or interesting shit that made me cry came during the action, but the action and the fantasy and the adventure elevates everything that comes from it. Without that, these other stories just aren't as interesting as they used to be, and as a result, you're left with this guy and the endless quest for Viagra, and that shit drags way too long. But even having said all of that, I still believe in this show. I still think you should watch it. Why? Because it's real. The more I watch or read shows, the more I realize that it's the truth, the authenticity, the reality in characters that ends up sticking with me the most. Take someone I see pieces of myself in and put them in these crazy situations because it's fucking cool and it's anime, and let me see them react, respond, and grow. Rudius is not a guy that you like. For the most part, he's not a guy that you root for, but for anything negative I could say about him, one thing is clear: he's the truth. The truth of an unwelcome, emotionally stunted man reborn into a world where he can dive into his deepest fantasies without anybody knowing. The way the show chooses to go about expressing that is fucked up. Nobody likes the fact that this is essentially a 45-year-old man doing some of these things. He's not a well-adjusted guy, but him dealing with a breakup, finding another girl who reminds him of his ex, or falling into vices trying to get over her and move forward, it's real. It's probably stuff that on some level you can relate to. Mushoku Tensei tells that truth without pulling any punches. Sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's cringe, most of the time it feels fucking despicable. But I think that truth and the actually interesting shit they set up this season, if for no other reason, makes this a story worth sticking with. Because when we do finally get back to the parts of Rudy that are enjoyable, it's that authenticity that makes the moments in this show hit harder than almost any other anime out there. So yeah, run that prison sentence up and subscribe. It really helps the channel out.